Actually, the microphone works, so I'm going to get started because we've got a lot to do this morning. I thank everyone for coming today. My name is Gary Sonk. I'm the president of the board of directors of Downtown Inc. This is really a fabulous group, and we've got some great stories for you today. I wanted to give a special thanks to the public official that showed up today. I think Kevin Schreiber. Kevin, are you here? There he is in the back there. That's a good place for you, Kevin. On behalf of the board, I'd also like to recognize the staff. Jody Chesla, she checked you in this morning. Natalie Williams, our business recruiter. Doug Knight in marketing. Tim Miller and Tim Fulton. Those are our technical guys that are doing big projects. And of course, Sonny Hunsinger, our executive director, who pulls all this together. This is a team that's working day in and day out to orchestrate the renaissance of our downtown, but in concert with 125 volunteers that help us achieve the vision of an economic, vibrant, and active downtown. It does indeed take a village. 11 of those volunteers sit on the board of directors, and I would like to recognize those, if you could stand real quickly, just the board members that came here today. And the staff, thank you very much. Yep. We do have a working board. It's not one that you can just come and attend and then leave. Our folks actually have to work at it. I think it goes without saying that this has been one long winter, including right up until today. Sometimes we feel as if we've been hibernating, and we're really, I know I am, looking forward to getting out without a jacket on. We have been continuously working during this entire time, without regard to the weather, to make this a better place, our downtown, to support small businesses. Natalie's out recruiting new businesses. We're marketing, Doug's marketing and advertising downtown York as an exciting destination. We're coordinating events, as everybody's very familiar with the First Fridays, which are really off the chart now, a very busy time for the downtown. But downtown is not the only organization that is working to make things happen. We host these events, these downtown updates, to shine a light on everyone that's working to make York, downtown, a different and better place. In case in point, and I'm going to start right out, and these will be 10-minute stories. The first up in the lineup this morning is Ann Dwyer, the executive director of the Parliament. Ann, can you come up? Okay, did everyone get that correction? It's Alec. That's why she didn't stand up.
I didn't know if I had a cousin here that I was unaware of.
Thank you, Alec.
Yeah, of course. Hello, everybody. That was funny. I'm Alex Dwyer, and I'm actually the executive director and founder of the Parliament. And this is actually a rare opportunity to see me before 9 a.m., so I want to congratulate all of you. So I just want to kind of start off and tell you guys a little bit of a background about myself and how, the Parliament pretty much came to be. Because I feel like it's really important to understand where I came from, to understand kind of how the Parliament formed. I actually grew up in York City. I grew up on Penn Street and West Market Street, and my earliest memories of York City was going to Penn Market when I was a child. And I will never forget those memories because the market was bustling, it was vibrant. I remember seeing the murals on the cityscape as I was walking back from the market, and just feeling like it was so busy and there were giants just all over me. And it seemed like ever since I lived downtown, it was when I left when everything kind of bad happened in my life. And the next 10 years, they were filled with struggles for my family. One day I came home from school and my mother was on the couch And if you knew my mother and you came home at 3 in the afternoon and she was on the couch watching Roseanne, you knew something was completely wrong. My mom had gotten an illness and she had called her doctor and he said just to stay home, it was the flu. And she stayed home and she listened to her doctor, and over the next few days her body began changing, and her body began changing colors. And we actually called an ambulance and they took her into the hospital. And when she got there, the doctors delayed their tests and blood flow was cut off to her legs, and she actually ended up losing her legs. My mother had gotten toxic shock syndrome, and ever since that day, when I was 8 years old, everything changed. Life was incredibly difficult growing up with a disabled mother and really getting your childhood ripped away from you. And music and art became my escape. They brought the youth back into my life that I felt like had been missing. And as soon as I could leave York, I did. I left for what I thought was opportunity in the music industry, but what I really was looking for was adventure, independence, and I needed to run away from everything. I left and I traveled. I worked in artist promotion for Capitol, Virgin, Blue Note, Universal Motown Records. I worked for Nylon Magazine. I toured the country for 3 years running away from my family. And I got tired and I got incredibly lonely. And I actually missed my family. So I came back home. And it made sense to move back into York City because I still had those memories of Penn Market when I was growing up. So I came back, and it just made so much sense for me. I had no car, but I could walk everywhere. I had absolutely no money, and I got a job serving at Maywin's. That actually got me back downtown. And I got a house on the 100 block at East King Street, and I moved in with 5 artists who all had different trades and skills. And I quickly saw a problem. None of these artists were showing their work to anybody. And nobody even knew how to find success with their art in the city. They didn't know how to price their work or how to submit it to area shows or how to even get it out there, much less show it to their parents. So I sought out to change that. And that's kind of where the Parliament formed. We began having shows at 116 East King Street. We had roommates and we moved furniture. And we sought out to create a community art space without long-term submission deadlines, high commission, something easy that we could all understand. And as soon as we started, there was really no going back. The community reception to our existence was incredible. And we kick-started a neighborhood movement. Empty storefronts on our street began filling up, and artists within a year and a half took over our area. Those were the early days. So since we kick-started and we started what we were doing in the 100 block, there's been 3 new galleries that have come on our area. 30 artists or musicians are living or working on the block, and 10 new businesses as of June 2014. Most of this entire area was vacant. And after all of this kind of happened and the movement started, our mission became incredibly clear. We needed to market, place, represent, and professionally develop a growing number of emerging artists and build on that to revitalize the arts in our community. So we began opening our doors every month and offering unique opportunities for artists to display their work but understand the professional gallery setting that they need to do. We pride ourselves on being a gathering space for artists, musicians, business people to share and build new relationships. And since we've started, we've accomplished a lot. We're a platform for local filmmakers. Since our founding, we've done 2 documentary premieres, A Day in the Sun and George Street Artists. We've won the Social Ventures Grant from the Orrit Foundation, and we're business collaborators. We've worked with a ton of merchants downtown, artists and photographers, and we've hosted fundraisers at our space for a lot of area causes, including Reed Menzer Skate Park. And we're really an economic development catalyst. So this kind of brings us to the future, because when we started because there needed to be a place like ours in the area. And now that 4 years has passed, there's a lot of places like us popping up. So it's this unique problem where you start and then you kind of have to grow. And now we're trying to figure out what we want for the future. And it's becoming very clear. We really want to work with youth and work with youth through art education. We see that we have this group of hundreds of artists that are passionate and that have finally taken the courage to show their work to the world, and that they're ready to work with kids on kind of showcasing their talent too. We also need to work on sustainability. We're a 4-year-old nonprofit arts organization, and grant rating and fundraising, it's really new to us. And sometimes we know what we're doing, and sometimes we don't. And we gotta diversify our audience. Our talent in this area, they need funding too, and that's important to us. And for us to continue, we have to keep working on our neighborhood, because that's what supported us. You'd be amazed at the amount of talent in York and the artwork we've seen hidden in basements. There's a large amount of talent here, and we've just scratched the surface. Without your help, these artists will never come out of their comfort zone, have the courage, or even stand up and be proud of what they've created. The Parliament exists to empower and support the underserved creatives and artists in York, and what I need from you are commitments. Whether that's a financial commitment, community support, mentorship, or you know an artist that we can help. I still see York as I did when I was 6, vibrant, energetic. The only difference is now I'm one of those giants, and the Parliament's committed to continuing to make York vibrant. I guess that's it.
Thanks for that long introduction, Alex. I appreciate it. My name is Bob Pullo, and I am the elected chairman of the CRIZ Authority. I have one slide for you today, the map of the CRIZ. CRIZ is 190 acres in downtown York, identified for the sole purpose of revitalizing and improving that particular area and the parcels within it. The CRIZ is a 190-acre parcel, and it has a great deal of flexibility and is very different than the kind of tax incentive zones that we've heard about in the past. The flexibility is such that any of those parcels that are identified as targets in the application that was made for approval, they can be interchangeable, or they can be swapped for other properties that are not colored orange, but are still within 190 or would account for 190 acres in this zone. So flexibility, for one thing, is very important as an asset to the opportunity. The history is that 18 months ago, the idea of a CRIZ was enacted and discussed in legislature, not approved until maybe 3 months before its final approval for applications in November of last year. Our application was developed and submitted on November 28th, I believe. And 3 months before that application was submitted is when all of the work was done, all of the details, all of the nuts and bolts, all of the nitty-gritty stuff about identifying all of these parcels. The thing about those parcels in this application and this whole opportunity is really that you're looking at what exists today and what projects or ideas people have been floating, and you kind of grab all of those regardless of your knowledge about them or your influence with them or your impressions of them, and present that as your case of places and things that can be done and in fact are hopefully being done within the city. So City Council approved the CRIZ. We have 7 members, and they are Patty Stirk, who's one of your group, Charlie Backus, excuse me just 1 minute, let's make sure I got them all. Bobby Simpson, Dave Confer, Larry Holzmer, and Mrs. Menzer, Kendall Menzer, thank you. Okay, and they elected me chairman regardless of my memory losses. Thank you. So in the 5 weeks from November until the governor would make a decision, Of course, there were holidays and all of that, so not a lot was being done. And we were not officially appointed by that city council at that time. So the 7 of us, once we were appointed, began to have meetings to discuss what it is that we're going to do into the future. But as luck would have it, when we made our application, it was denied. So there's a great deal of disappointment associated with that, but we're ramped up by the great work done by the officials, the elected officials, the administration for the city, the Department of Economic Development in the county. All of those people came together, did a lot of work to bring it to the landscape here of opportunity. And then 7 of us walk in not having been involved in that, so with an awful lot we have to come to understand to see how that was going to work and how we could influence that and bring it forward successfully. So in the 3 months that we were denied, we had a chance to sit back and reevaluate and to restructure the thought process of what can be done with the CRIZ when it is approved. Very quickly, when we were disapproved or not approved, the legislative contingent presented a new bill, and that new bill was to provide for more CRIZ opportunities to come earlier than the bill would have allowed. That's doing very well. The report back on that is that it has a positive position in the legislative process. On Friday, there's a hearing, and feedback is it looks good. And so the 6 that actually were authorized to apply, 2 lost out on technicalities. We were one of them. 2 lost out on not even being eligible. I don't know why they applied. And that left 2 for 2 to be appointed. So that was kind of a no-brainer for the governor. No politics involved in that. He's got 2 applicants, and he gave them out. So that was a good thing. So we have this window of time. We're using it as a think tank. And we exist, but without money. Think about that. When you don't have money, you exist, you dream. And that's what we're doing, is dreaming and creating a thought process that will involve lots of other people. So we're fully organized. And I was asked to talk about this today. I thought, well, what am I supposed to say? And the answer was, well, you're supposed to tell them what you're doing. And we said, oh my God, we're not doing enough. So we need to mobilize, which we have been doing for the 3 months, and we've had 3 official meetings. We want to debrief all these pioneers and trailblazers that created this opportunity and identified the various pieces of the opportunity. So our job number 1 in this time frame is to research and study the opportunity impact of the CRIZ program, to strategize, and to work up what this dedicated team put on the table for us. We're going to build on the foundation that they created and pursue a more comprehensive view of a vision for this area, to pursue these investments that can best meet the overall needs of our community. So in other words, defining the market. What is it that we can attract into the CRIZ that will be for the betterment of the community? So to that end, we're exploring collaborations, building relationships with professionals. We're brainstorming. We're talking to people with proven community advocacy, community builders, not bricks and mortar builders. Leaders of higher education, county officials. We're interviewing with them, with property owners, with businesses that are currently in the zone to see how they might want to expand if they had the investment to do that. We're talking to developers. We should talk to developers, both internal in York County and external. We need to talk to the public, the residents of that 190 acres. We're talking to the Allentown NIS organization, which is very similar to CRIZ, and there will be approximately a low of $75 million as investment opportunities here. or a high of $150 million of opportunities, depending on which econometric model and projection you embrace. We had consultants, economic consultants come in. That's exciting to look at what they predict and how they come up with their numbers of the direct and indirect impact of new taxes, new businesses, and new economic effort in the community. So talking about taxes as the core of the program, this is the CRIZ, the City Revitalization and Improvement Zone. You think back, there were the KOZs, KIZs, ITCs, KSDZs. It's like an alphabet soup of things, investment tax credits, ITCs. But this program is different than all of them. Those programs actually forgave taxes, or gave tax breaks, or gave tax credits to reduce the taxes paid by the parties utilizing the effort. This actually creates new dollars, protecting the old taxes collected by the taxing officials. And any dollars received above the benchmark being the taxes that were being paid normally or ordinarily by businesses and wage earners in this zone. That amount of tax collection continues, but as any new increases in those collections occur, then that money goes to the collecting authority, the state, the county, and so forth, and that money then gets sent back to fund the CRIZ. The CRIZ can spend that $75 or $150 million on infrastructure and facilities. The infrastructure is a very expensive element of a whole community change. Most facilities can't afford all of the infrastructure that would be necessary. These dollars can supplement, in a public-private partnership, those needed improvements. The new revenues that do get generated then are used to retire the debt that the CRIZ created to fund the various projects. And the projects included in the application, there were 35 projects, not all of which would come to pass, not all of which we would embrace necessarily, and more importantly, new ones will hit the street. And so our job, I think, is to be very selective. This is not a program where the monies generated are reliant upon taxes already being enjoyed by the city. It's all new taxes. The form of taxes are corporate net income taxes, sales taxes, earned income taxes, capital stock taxes. That's the bowl from which the dollar opportunities get accumulated, and again, protected to the level that have already been collected by them, and the additional sent back to the CRIZ to invite parties to the table for development. So the baseline is very, very important. This will grow real estate taxes. It's not a forgiveness program where if you build a facility that you don't have to pay taxes for 10 years of real estate taxes. So it'll increase the real estate tax base of the community. I think our further objective in our planning and in our vision of the future is to try to attract businesses that actually have a real impact on growing the wage earnings of our community. That we want better jobs, we want higher paid jobs, we want higher skilled jobs. We want professional jobs. We want young, new entrepreneurs. How many entrepreneurs work as a professional in a company or an organization and say, I wish I could start that myself. I can do that, but I don't have the money for the facility or for the improvements to create that facility. CRIZ can come in as a partner to those younger professionals that might come together in a partnership and open a law firm in a newly constructed or a newly renovated facility, and be able to afford that because we can give as much as $5 to their $1, eliminating a huge dormant investment in a facility property. The important thing there is to understand that the borrower or the developer only has to come up with 17% of the money needed. CRIZ comes up with the other 83%, and that 83% is funded by a bond issue. At least a bond issue, there might be other ways. And that bond issue is going to get paid back, both principal and interest, by the taxes generated by the employees that are working on the construction, and the employees then that are permanently hired for that facility going forward. A bigger, better face of 190 acres making a big contribution to the community. So there are things that are important to us, like building a middle class. And I think that when we look at this, we're going to look beyond the bricks and mortar. We're going to look for a better economic opportunity and be very community inclusive. So minority inclusion, youth inclusion, and a wide variety of new business opportunities, hopefully to complement things like Think Loud and the things that they want to do by creating new careers in York. So I thank you for listening to all of that. We're not sure we're going to get approval. We think we will, and we'll be able to hit the ground running at that time. It's my job and pleasure to introduce you to Chief Wes Cayley, who is next. And like the armed forces, every time I see a policeman, I say thank you, Wes, for what you do. We appreciate it, and thank you for listening.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me? I don't like being back here. I'd rather come out and talk to you out there, but I just want to make sure you hear me. I was invited down just to talk about some crime statistics, what's going on in the city and downtown in general. I almost didn't come because I'm actually a very superstitious person, which many cops are, and I've been talking about crime statistics for the last month, and we have been very busy for the last month. So this is going to be the last time I mention crime statistics this year. But I often find myself trying to defend the city and what's going on, because as we all know, there's a huge perception problem with what is actually taking place in the city of York. And I want to give you an idea, and I talked with Gary about this not long ago. When I compiled the statistics, and I'm compiling more and more of them because the newspapers are making me do it because of the defense of the city all the time. But when I looked at the downtown stats, and if you all remember in 2011, we created a downtown neighborhood unit here. We have 6 of them around the city, and there's officers assigned to them. And as you know, your officers are Mike Davis and Blake McBride in the back. They've been doing a fantastic job. And what we do is we look at each individual neighborhood individually and distinct. Each of them have their own problems. And in order to address crime and police situations in each of those areas, we can't do it the same all the way across the city. We have to look at everything individually. Going back and looking at the stats starting in 2011 when we started the downtown unit, and trust me, I'm in no way, I don't take credit for anything. I don't want the police department to take credit for anything, because I truly believe in my heart that the way you solve problems is a collaborative effort. When I talk about statistics, to me things are changing, things are getting better because of everything that is happening. When we talk about the downtown, when we look at everything that is happening in the downtown, it's not just because of the police department, it's because of everything that's happening. All the businesses, all the people that are down here, when you start caring about an area and putting effort into it, it grows, it becomes better. But when we looked at the statistics this year, when I started getting calls from the newspapers and the media outlets, discovered some interesting things that I knew were happening. And again, stats are stats. But downtown, comparing 2011 to 2013, our overall calls are down 25% in our geographical area downtown. Assaults with firearms in that time are down 100%. Robberies in the downtown district are down 70%. They're huge numbers. Now again, we're not taking, if we take credit for them being down, we have to take credit if they go up, and I never want to do that. So I'm not going to do that, but I think it gives us a better idea of what is happening. When you look citywide, and I went back and again, being forced to defend York City oftentimes. I started as a police officer in York City in 1988. So I went back and dug out all the old annual reports that I had from the York City Police Department, and I started compiling statistics from them. And if you look back to 1988 and compare it to 2013, Part 1 crimes, which are the most violent and serious crimes that we always get hammered with, and that sites like Urban Scout, Neighborhood Scout try and cite as being the reason why we're more dangerous than Chicago and we're more dangerous than Baltimore. From 1988 to 2013, Part 1 crimes are down 47% in the city of York. That's huge. You know, a lot of times I think the perception that gets out there is because the media the way it is today. I'm not blaming the media, but if you look back in 1988, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have Facebook, none of the social stuff that's out there. So rumor spread, information spreads from people that really don't know the whole truth about the topics that they're speaking about, and it becomes this just this rolling tumbleweed of misinformation. Plus, back in 1988, there wasn't a way to get that information out. So really, if you want to talk about the health of the city now, the health of the downtown, to me, we're 47% better than what we were in 1988. So if we're more violent now than a lot of the places that they name, boy, just imagine what we were in 1988. People really didn't know about it. So, you know, I think we have a lot to be proud of. The mayor, when she hired me as police chief, said she wanted Part 1 crimes to be below 2,000. Well, in 2013, we accomplished that. We got them down to 1,858 Part 1 crimes for the year. In the 26 years that I have numbers, we've never been below 2,000. In fact, there was a time in the early 90s where we were over 5,000. There was a time in the early 90s when crime in York City, total crime, was over 10,000. This year we were 4,000 in some total crimes in the city of York. So there's a lot of good news there. The thing is, there's a lot of hard work, and this month continues to prove that because we're busy again. We have a lot to do. We can't settle on our laurels, but there's a lot of promise there, and now the goal is to keep it consistently under 2,000. I also had someone send me a comparison, and we're always compared to Lancaster. Well, Lancaster has this, Lancaster has that, Lancaster's this, Lancaster's that. So one of my friends that lives outside the area, actually in Lancaster, sent me a comparison of our crime stats for 2013 between York and Lancaster. This was the first year in 2013 that we beat Lancaster in a very long time in crime stats, being lower than what they are. So again, we're going the right direction. There's a lot of hard work going on in the communities, out in the neighborhoods themselves, in the downtown area. You all can see it, and I can see it from the time that I mean, I grew up here, so I have a lot to compare it to. It's not what it was when I was a kid, and anybody that's lived here that long can tell you that, because when I was a kid, you came down and you shopped downtown, and Jack's was downtown, and you know, the Bon-Ton and Bears and everything, and in the winter, over the holiday season, everything was decorated and the sidewalks were full. But you all have done a fantastic job of creating an environment down here where people were coming back again. And that's kind of what I judge on. When I talk to people that live outside the city, if they're telling me they're coming back here, if they're telling me that they feel confident to be here again, that means much more to me than looking at statistics, because that tells me that there's a trend out there that's happening, and you all can be very proud of that own businesses and put an effort into this downtown area. So I'd be willing to take any questions. I just wanted to give you that little bit of news. I'm never going to talk about stats for the rest of the year because we want to make sure we maintain what we have going on right now, but I think there's a lot of promise happening. Yes? I'm sorry? Part 1 crimes are the most serious crimes. They include robberies, rapes, assaults, homicides, burglaries, and vehicle thefts. Don't think I missed anything. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. The UCR, what happens is every city doesn't, if you don't know, the uniform crime reports are collected by the FBI annually. Police departments don't have to turn in their statistics, but we do because it helps with getting grants and so forth. And what happens is then they're compiled and they're put out I use the statistics to kind of get an overview of what's happening in the city of York. The FBI will tell you the worst thing you can do with those numbers is compare city to city, state to state, and area to area, because there's so many factors about why crime is occurring and why crime isn't occurring that you cannot just look at those numbers. But again, I look at it briefly to see what is happening in the city of York. Compare the city of York to the city of York, and when you compare those numbers from 1988 to 2013 and now into 2014, there's a huge reduction that has taken place. There's a huge amount of promise, I think, out there as to what's taking place. Anything else? Nope. Thank you. I appreciate it.
My name is Lisa Lonaball, and I'm with Think Loud. I'm the creative director and one of the executive liaisons. And this is Miss Selena Sparks, our director of marketing. So we have a quick 2-minute video we're going to just show you guys really quick that has a nice overview of what we do.
Into love, a God, and to fear, a flame, and to burn. A crowd that has a name. All over you, all over me. A song that feeds the sky. An ocean tried to hold the sea. A song that feeds the tide. Hey, now it won't be erased. Hey, now it won't be scarred like that. Hey, now it won't be erased. Hey, now it won't be scarred. I alone love you. I alone tempt you. I alone love you. Fear is not the end of it. I alone love you. I alone tempt you. I can feel it coming back again, like a rolling thunder chasing the wind. Horses pulling from the center of the earth again. I can feel it. I can feel it. I can feel it.
Okay, so first we'd like to talk about Think Loud Development. It is our land lease and development company, and currently we own about 31 properties right in this target area where our headquarters are. So that's North Queen Street, Walnut Street, we're just a couple blocks away. Our headquarters office is at 210 York Street, and it is the home of Think Loud Development, United Fiber and Data, Think Loud Music, Think Loud Studios, and YRK. So we're really proud to have a headquarters based directly right in the downtown area. With the enhancement of our 210 York Street headquarters building, we have been able to keep enhancing and transforming this community section with additional street lights and cameras. We have about 44 cameras that are monitored outside of our perimeter. We have significantly reduced the crime in our target area, which is a bonus, Wes can attest. So that's a big thing of including this transformation process of the city. In the back corridor where the prison we have taken ownership of that property, and that's going to be the next home to one of the 3 data centers that United Fiber and Data will be occupying, and Selena is going to now talk about what United Fiber and Data is.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. UFD is currently constructing a 400-mile-long fiber optic network that will run from New York City down through the DC area. Right now, we are finishing up the New York segment, and we expect that the fiber network will be complete end of summer, early fall. In addition to the network, we are also building state-of-the-art data centers, the first of which will be located at our 210 campus. this building is going to be like I said, the state-of-the-art data center located at our 210 campus. It's going to be complete Q1 of 2014. Upon completion, UFD will bring over 400 jobs, as you saw in the video, to the state of Pennsylvania. 175 of those jobs is going to be located downtown. And as Bob had mentioned, a lot of developers and companies will tout that they are bringing a lot of jobs to a downtown core in order to get funding, in order to get grants. The problem with a lot of those jobs is that they're not very high quality, so they're really just creating more of the same problem. Our jobs are really, really high quality jobs. The minimum average annual salary is $65,000. So we understand that we've got a workforce that is immediately available to us, and we are willing to train that workforce and give them the tools to really elevate their lifestyle, so we're not contributing to a problem, but we're adding to the solution. So a lot of this information may be lost on you. It was me when I first started hearing about fiber. I was like, I don't know, it's the internet.
It's the internet, that's what.
Like, electricity comes right to your house, you turn the switch on. When it doesn't work, it's really inconvenient. The same thing with the internet. But unless you're in that industry, it's not sexy and it's not interesting. But what is sexy and what is really interesting and what is exciting are the benefits, the results, and the impact that this will have on a community. So Lisa is going to talk to you a little bit about what happens when you give a community much like ours access to world-class connectivity.
So the key with this is the technology that United Fiber and Data brings, with conjunction of the transformation development of ThinkLoud development and our properties. We're kind of making a movement, and that is going to answer the question, what are we going to do with our campus? Why are we buying all these properties? How is that economically going to affect downtown York? And the answer is a little story called this Kansas City Startup Village. Okay, so the Kansas City Startup Village Kansas City was the first place that Google Fiber was presented. So the technology of Google Fiber is actually the exact technology that United Fiber and Data brings. Highest speed technology that you can get on the market right now. So we were fortunate enough to be invited in July to Kansas City to kind of check out what they had going on. When Chad, Pat, and Bill kind of started transforming and getting into the United Fiber and Data, they really wanted to bring technology to Pennsylvania, because you're either on the information superhighway or you're not, and Pennsylvania wasn't, and that was a big thing for them. So they're like, this is awesome. Like, how can we give the technology to move forward? So in Kansas City, it is an entrepreneurial-led, like, grassroots movement. The people, Google Fiber, when they brought it to Kansas City, it was only to residents. It wasn't like, hey, my business can go do this. So some really creative entrepreneurs were like, I'm gonna go buy a house downtown, and I'm gonna get that technology, and I'm gonna work from home and have a startup company. So that's a really powerful movement, and that's the intent behind the properties that we have purchased, is being able to kind of give entrepreneurs a place. Hey, you can stay here for free and live in this building. We'll give you the technology, start up your company, bring people, new talent to the area. Within less than 2 years in Kansas City, in a 7 square block radius, kind of the same corridor that we have started to purchase, they have had over 24 startup companies. They have had talent from 12 different states. They've had international recognition in press they've had dignitaries from multiple different countries coming to check out to see what they're doing. And they've created over 60 jobs right now in counting. That's less than 2 years. Like, that's a huge economic impact, and that's the exact intent that we plan on doing with our technology campus and our properties. I mean, you're bringing new talent, the best talent from around the country here. They're gonna bring their families, they're gonna shop downtown, they're gonna buy homes, their kids are gonna go to the schools. Like, that's a big deal. So with that being said, kind of transforming into the downtown communities and kind of just continuing. We really want to make downtown shine and keep this as a very, very collaborative community engagement to move this city forward. So, Selena, YRK? All right.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, this magazine has been my baby for the past year. And myself, along with Bree Shorten, who's sitting in the front row, have worked tirelessly, in addition to everything else that we do for Think Loud, to produce this magazine. So we are heading into our second year now, and the first year was really, really amazing. We learned a lot about a lot. And we paused for a moment and said, okay, in its initial conception, YRK was only meant to be a print publication that had an online presence, nothing major, but an online presence. And we looked at our team, and our, Lisa's an incredible designer. Bree has an amazing background. We have, video production in-house. We have all of these resources that are around us all the time, and how can we utilize those resources and that talent to really benefit our advertisers? So we decided that it was time for YRK to evolve from a magazine into a multifaceted marketing platform that will give our advertisers the ability and access to take advantage of a marketing strategy, marketing resources, marketing tools they wouldn't normally be able to afford, because a lot of the businesses downtown have really great products, really great services. They're really great places to go eat. The culinary talent behind them is amazing. They're locally owned, they're individually owned, they have families, they only have so many hours in the day, and how can they really market themselves? And a lot of times when you have a new business come to town, or an expansion, where they fail is their marketing. And so we are giving our advertisers access to a marketing platform that will allow them to grow. And as with everything that Think Loud does, our big picture, we always have a big picture, is that YRK is not just a hub. Like, we want everybody to come to us for the latest events and the coolest shops, and where can I go get a really great gift, and where can I go have a party. And we see YRK as being another economic development driver, in that we are going to create jobs through the growth of our advertisers, because when we help them succeed and we help them grow, they're going to hire, and that will enable us to hire internally also. And we'll be able to take, and I'm not sure, you probably don't know, but YRK was never meant to profit. It was really a philanthropic effort of Chad, Pat, and Bill. They really said, here are all of your resources, have at it.
One key thing that's really important about YRK, and about how, Chad, Pat, and Bill never really expected it to be this moneymaker or anything like that. What they really wanted is to just use it as almost like a human resources tool to just expose downtown York to other areas and be like, hey, we've got some really awesome things here to bring people in, and also bring, kids who are coming out of college and stuff like that, areas where, hey, if you want to go to New York but you can't really afford it, you can't do all that stuff, we've got a lot of those key elements and really eccentric things that stand out to people in that kind of area, that you could just come right here, and it's going to be a little bit closer and way more cost effective for you. So that was a little driving force behind it initially.
And lastly, we see YRK as another contributor to funneling funds into the community. So if, much like Yorit, if, we see that there are businesses that we can help along the way, we ultimately want to be able to do that. So hopefully next year, this time, if we're back here, we can say, look at all of these fabulous things that YRK did for the community.
Absolutely.
So what an exciting time to be part of York City, huh? Yeah. So my name is Cindy Steele. I am the COO here at Central Market. We're happy to have you here as our guest today. As many of you know, we just celebrated our 125th birthday, and we're so looking forward to 125 more years here in the city, filling our stands with fresh local produce and our aisles with loyal customers like you. You might not know that in this market we house probably more than 6 professional chefs and bakers. Many of them have made connections in our city with businesses, for instance, Mezzogiorno and Copper Crust and All About Brownies have teamed up with the York Revolution this year to do their food service and client gifting, which is really exciting. So if you need a caterer, this is a really good spot to come and find a really great chef. Also, in this past year, we've started to offer rentals of our space for meetings such as this one. We did, there's Guinness In It event for the St. Patrick's Day Parade. We've done press conferences. Several weddings and birthday parties have happened here in our market, which is really a beautiful building to have an event. But staying true to our farmers market that we want to be, we have started to pursue more farmers and bakers and meat vendors. So this is really exciting, over the next few months you're going to find some really new and special things coming to the market. One of them is Horn Farm. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're in Hellam. They are a farm incubator. They're going to be bringing 4 farmers to our market starting in May. And they're going to be doing some educational things for children and adults, as well as selling their produce. And you can get your tomatoes to plant in your garden, all kinds of fruits and vegetables. We're also offering, we're also going to have the Kreider Family Farm from East Berlin. They're going to be selling baked goods and flowers and vegetables. And if that's not exciting enough, we're going to have 3 new vendors, T&K Nuts and Candy, which will be joining us in April. She'll be right over here. She's going to have dried vegetables, fruits, and candy, bagged candy, and candy making supplies. The Beaver Street Gourmet, which is a birth of Copper Crust, will be joining us in the back corner where Marcio's used to be. They're going to have sell meat by the pound. They're going to have smoked meats, fresh farm fresh eggs, ready-baked goods, pre-cut vegetables, pickled products, sauces, soups, salads, and grab-and-go sandwiches. So we're really excited for that one to come to our market. Hopefully that will be up and ready by May. And then Janina, she is a baker from Leaders Heights. She will be joining us with fresh breads. Yay. I know we all want the bread. So she's going to be here starting in April. She also has Polish desserts that she'll be making, so I'm excited about Janina as well. Some of you may have already tried our crepes. We have Sucre Soleil. She joined us as a pop-up the past 2 Saturdays. She will be coming over the summer with her crepes. They're sweet and savory. They're delicious, so I would highly recommend her. And then we have this little light of mine, which will be offering soy candles and organic bath and body products. They're also going to be joining us in April. We also have some exciting expansions happening. The Copper Crust is going to expand very shortly to serve breakfast and lunch, as well as their baked goods. Dave Dietz's farm will expand to sell more dairy products such as yogurt. And the Springleaf Farm, who is our organic farmer, she's also expanding her stand to sell potted plants, more vegetables, and fresh cut flower bouquets. This coming Saturday, we are going to do a community event with the Distinguished Young Women of York County. We'll have 31 of the Distinguished Young Women, formerly Junior Miss, join us for a photo shoot. So we're excited about that. And the New Hope Charter School, our neighbor next door, they're going to give a surprise visit as well. So we hope that you will join us on Saturday for those items. We're continually looking for ways to connect with our community and support our community with fresh local products that you can't find anywhere else. So we thank you for being here today, and Sunny, we'll close that with you.
Thanks, Cindy. Thanks for hosting us, too. It's a great venue. She's right about the hospitality you'll find here at Central Market if you want to host an event here. I know we're running a minute late. If you'll spare me just another 5 minutes, we'd like to get you out of here on time, but a couple of things I wanted to hit on. I had asked Penn Ketchum to be a part of the panel of speakers this morning. Penn's the developer that's working to bring Sweet City Cinema to the Northwest Triangle. He couldn't be here. He's attending a theater owners conference in Las Vegas, but he did ask me to pass along to all of you that he is deeply committed to bringing the theater to downtown York and remains highly optimistic about the project. That's a quote. He expects to make a public announcement within the next 4 to 6 weeks, so stay tuned for that news. Next, I wanted to share something with you. Can everybody hear me? I don't usually like to talk about the things we're planning to do or the things we're going to do. We know how York feels about its plans. But over the last couple of weeks, this thing has transpired that I wanted to share with you. It's been inspiring to me. One of our initiatives at Downtown Inc. is the rail trail, for lots of obvious reasons. We work to improve the areas in the existing portions. We do what we can to assist with the extension and completion of it. Over the last few months, we've been working with Jim Gross at the city to apply for 2 grants from the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, DCNR. One grant is to make improvements to the extension, or improvements to the existing portion of the trail from the Regents Glen area to the trailhead in Foundry Park. The second grant is to plan for the extension through the Northwest Triangle and arterial connectors into the downtown. I'm not going to get into all the details of the grant and what's involved in the projects. Suffice it to say, total projects cost are estimated at about $1 million. DCNR requires a 50% match. And we have grant application deadlines looming. A couple of weeks ago on a Thursday afternoon, we convened a group of stakeholders from this community and we explained the situation. We need to come up with $500,000 to leverage the $500,000 from DCNR to get this work done. I'm happy to report that as of this morning, less than 2 weeks later, we are at $426,000. And I have every reason to believe that by 5 o'clock this afternoon, we'll hit the 500,000 mark. Everybody from York College to York Road Runners to, I'm not going to list them all of that information will be forthcoming. People's Bank, I mean everybody. So whether or not we're successful in acquiring this grant, and we'll know in November or December whether they've chosen York. And I have every reason to believe that we'll be successful in getting it. The real story is the fact that when we came to the community said, we're in, what do you need? All this last 2 weeks, I've been fielding phone calls. We're in, what do you need? And I just wanted to share that with you because that's so inspiring and bolstering to me that we live and work in a community that just naturally raises their hand and says, we're in. So I hope you're inspired by that too. I want to thank Cindy again for hosting us. Copper Crust, Sean for waking up early and feeding us with the coffee and the pastries. Gary mentioned the staff. I think it's safe to say that Downtown Inc. is really firing on all cylinders. We've never been stronger, and that's because of the people we come to work for every day. Incredible staff. The volunteers, specifically the board of directors, their leadership, their vision. And thank you all for coming. Your continued engagement and interest in what we're doing together as a community is equally inspiring. Thank you for coming today.